Hello, and welcome to Education Chat, a podcast made by students for students. My name is Alyssa Ray,
And hi, I'm Alicia Paulino.
and today we're joined by two members of Let's Go to College, Marcos, a first-generation graduate from Cal State LA with a degree in political science, and Bianca, a first-generation graduate from UC Santa Cruz with a degree in sociology. Hi, guys. Welcome to Education Chat.
Hi.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for being on. So before we get started, can you please tell us a little bit about Let's Go to College, how it started, what made you guys want to join, and things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll take this one. Let's Go to College California is a project of the Southern California College Attainment Network. We go by so-called CAN because we have a little bit of a long name. But we're based out of Los Angeles, and we're a network of college access organizations, 118 of them as well. And really, when the pandemic started, we noticed that students were going to have to make an abrupt transition from being on campus to being essentially in quarantine and lockdown, and that they were not going to be able to get communications like they normally would, right? They were not going to be able to go to their admissions office, financial aid office on campus, etc., to meet with people and get information. It was going to be a little bit more challenging, and people were going to rely on digital communications. We noticed that there was also a little bit of a gap in how the schools, higher ed systems were responding to the pandemic, and that there needed to be better communication to students. So that's why we decided to launch Let's Go to College California as a virtual hub of resources and information for students. It's composed of a website that's a one-stop shop, free, access to all. Anybody could go find there's some resources that's going to help them to apply to college, pay for college, find college success, even make a transition to early adulthood. And then we also have a very strong social media presence. So we know folks are spending a lot of time on social media, right? Like everybody's scrolling, a lot of people now use social media as a source of news and information. So we wanted to meet students where they are at. So we have a very strong social media. Our most popular pages are Instagram, TikTok. People can also find us on Twitter, Facebook. And yeah, we try to, use the power of social media for good to be able to connect students with information and resources.
Beautiful. And are there any advantages of using social media in higher education that you've seen firsthand since you guys primarily use social media?
Yeah, definitely. I could speak on that. So we definitely, as Marcos was saying, leveraging social media as a powerful communications tool. So since students are already on that every day, I think it's important to share like bite-sized information regarding scholarships, full-time opportunities, student affirmations, or any like relatable student memes or videos that they can find engaging. Those often receive the most engagement just because it is something that they're looking for and can benefit them in some sort. Also, like I said, connecting with students across California. So for an example, we did just wrap up our ambassadors program, which allowed for students all across California to engage with one another, really speak on their student experiences and how we can uplift them. Because I feel like first generation students are often portrayed in a negative light, like look at all the challenges and the barriers that they have to face, but really uplifting that and saying we do face those, but this is like the way to face that and really like fight through and inspire the next generation of students.
I think that was beautifully said, because just to kind of agree with you a little bit, I think when you think of first generation students, like the negatives come to mind, but not the positives. So I really do like that you guys had that ambassadors meeting. Did you attend it, either of you, or?
Yeah, so I helped coordinate it. It was about 6 weeks long. We would meet virtually. And, it's difficult to like really build those connections online. But at the end, the students were really excited to meet other students across California, talk about the different campuses and the ways that they wish there could be some changes made.
Just a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So moving forward, research has found that 58% of future students will consider putting a college or university on their application list after checking out a social media feed. So why do you think that is so prevalent in today's day and age?
Yeah, I could start off. I think that just really goes along with like building awareness and creating accessibility to students all across. Because, you know, to really get a taste of the culture or the campus, you have to be there in person. But that could be really expensive, either like flying across California or just finding that time to even go visit the campus can be hard. So I think building that online presence as a campus to show students like this is what the culture's like, this is what you'll be involved in, this is what student life looks like here is really important to like build that hype, you can say. I think that's what students are really interested in knowing, like, you know, what is it really like to be there? Because you don't want to put yourself in like a campus or space that you don't feel seen or heard, all of that. So I think students just want to get a taste of what it's really like to be at that campus before applying and actually going through that whole process.
Definitely. So, with that being said, how can students benefit from following your social media accounts?
So I think through our virtual community, we promote information and resources that pertain to basic needs, mental health, college success, and career development. So like I said, finding scholarships, internships, full-time opportunities makes us really unique, especially since it's created by students for students. So we understand all the needs and all the challenges. So making it really like bite-sized information so that students could either save it, find the link later on, and really apply to those. So all our different accounts have like different, we tailor them very differently. So like our Instagram is a lot of college affirmations, scholarships, finding relatable reels and memes pertaining on like certain topics that are happening in the higher education space. Our Twitter is a lot more links applying to scholarships and full-time opportunities just because it's easier access, as well as our newsletter. And then TikTok, we really show what it's like as a student, highlighting those student experiences. We got the ambassadors to show us around their own campuses. So just like really bringing awareness to all the different campuses across California so students can get a taste.
And shameless plug, you guys should follow Let's Go to College. Putting it out there. So I do want to kind of talk about a resource that you guys have, because you guys' site has a ton of resources, but there's one in particular that me and Alyssa have never heard of, and it really struck out to us. And that would be the Student Navigator Network, also known as SNN. So can you guys tell us the purpose of it and what kind of services that it specifically offers?
Thank you. Yeah, while we focus on mass communication, social media, marketing, pieces like that, we felt like our project needed one-to-one communication with students, direct support from one student to another. And we found this organization, this partner, they're called RISE, the organization. And in the middle of the pandemic, they launched something they call the Student Navigator Network, where they pretty much train a couple of students to serve as social workers in training. Most of the students are also probably looking to become social workers to be able to help students connect to non-academic resources, mainly public benefits as well. So you could think about it like if a student is going through a struggle with food insecurity and they need help applying for the CalFresh, they can use the Student Navigator Network to connect with a peer that will help, that has been trained on how to apply for CalFresh so that that student can, make it easier to go through the application and be able to receive food benefits. Again, it's not limited to CalFresh, it's most non-academic resources, public benefits. So it could be help with finding mental health resources in your community, in your county as well. It can be housing, support with housing, so housing vouchers, rent relief, programs like that, helping pay for your utilities. There's a lot of public benefits out there, right? That a lot of sometimes students overlook because they feel like they're not eligible for it or they don't qualify for it. So students don't apply for those, but they do, right? Because they're independent college students that are providing for themselves. And then, just like a lot of families take advantages of this, sometimes college students are a family of one and they could still apply and try to receive some of those benefits. So that's what a Student Navigator Network does. Traditionally, the Student Navigator Network that Rice had was they had them on different campuses, and it was specific to those campuses. But with us, they were able to work with us to put it on our project, on our platform, for us to promote it to social media. And our current student navigator serves any college student in California can meet with the navigator, and they just help them. They hear, listen what the struggle is that they're going through, and they help them connect with resources outside of their campus that might be able to help them out too. So yeah, we're really happy about it, really excited about that piece. And it's also, we hope that people feel comfortable speaking to their peers, right? Like they're not speaking to like a social worker or a counselor or an advisor. They're actually speaking to somebody that looks like them and is going through similar experiences as them.
I also think just the site as a whole helps to break down that stigma of public benefits. So I'm all here for SNN. And also, I just do have a question. Is the service for UC and CSU students and community college students, or is it you have to be a specific you have to be at a specific school to apply for it, or is it open to everyone?
No, it's open to everyone. I think that's the really cool part about it too. That Rice was able to leverage an existing grant and an existing program they had. And through us, through Let's Go to College California, they were able to offer it to any student, any college student in California.
That is good to know. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, quickly, I'll just say too, like right now we're really pushing out CalFresh because as you all might have heard, right, because of the pandemic, it's easier for students to qualify for CalFresh than ever. But then those exceptions that were made in the pandemic are going away next month. The students need to probably be submitting their applications this month to make sure that they get it in with the easier requirements, because after next month the requirements are going to get a little bit harder. And it'll be harder for students to meet those exemptions.
And I'm very familiar with that. I do work with CalFresh, and I knew that the public emergency allotment for COVID ended, so the benefits were decreased. And along with that, they're cutting, I believe, two of the most popular exemptions. So if you're interested in CalFresh, guys, apply now before it gets a little bit harder in the future. So I appreciate you mentioning that, Marcos.
And with that amazing resource, you guys also have so many other resources available to students, such as mental health support, tips on how to pay for college and college success as a whole. So out of all the resources that you provide, which one do you find most valuable for the student population?
I think I'm going to mention two, really. I think number one is how to pay for college. I think the price tag deters a lot of students from even going to college. And they're not, sometimes students are misinformed or not fully aware that there's a lot of financial aid. California has one, if not the most generous financial aid programs in the nation, in the country. And on top of that, students can also receive federal aid, Pell Grants, and have, work study and things like that. So at the end of the day, a student who qualifies for various programs is probably going to pay very little out of their pocket for college. And that's very helpful. But then when there is sort of a difference and it's not all fully covered, there's other ways and other things that students can generate income to help them pay for college. So that's securing an internship, applying for private scholarships, or even appealing their financial aid packages if they feel like they're not getting enough money. So we try to provide all that type of information to be able to really paint a more clear picture of how students can pay for college and how they're not going to end up paying $20,000, $30,000 out of their pocket, right? Like there is going to be a lot of aid that's available to them to help them pay for that. And helping students understand that is very key, because we don't want students like not going to college because they think they can't afford it. The second part, I think, is something that was exacerbated by the pandemic, which is mental health. I think we've seen it in our communities, probably in our families, that everyone's mental health has gotten a little bit worse as a result of the pandemic. The social isolation hit everybody. I think there's still like anxiety about catching COVID or other illnesses, diseases, things like that. And data has told us that students are facing more increased depression, increased anxiety as well. So it's really important for us to push out messages right now that students need to take care of themselves, that student well-being, self-care is a key component of college success, because if you're not doing well yourself, there's no way you can do well in your classes. There's no way you can get involved in extracurricular activities. So pushing out those messages and making mental health resources available is key for students. One of the research we make available is we have like a directory. It's like a map that students can go look up information for their mental health department or office on their campus. And we make that information available for every single public college and university in California. So any student attending can just go look up and like, okay, this is my mental health department office, my counseling services on my campus, so that they can book appointments, they can go visit them, they can get in contact with somebody. So we're just trying to make it a little bit easier for students to find that information.
And what about you, Bianca? Do you have any services that you think are most valuable for the student population?
I was going to mention the same ones. Yeah, I wanted to also note just like discussing the different student loans. I don't know if Marcos mentioned that, but I think students are very scared at like receiving their financial aid package and knowing that they would have to take out some type of loan. So understanding the differences between unsubsidized and subsidized and private loans and the university loans, if granted. And then, yeah, I was also going to highlight our mental health directory map, since it is available for all students across California. We just want to really make our resources accessible for all students across all platforms and across all devices. So everything's accessible from your phone, your laptop, your iPad, all of that.
Yeah, and you both talked about it wonderfully. So again, another amazing resource that Let's Go to College has. You guys are just like the resource hub. It's really admirable that you guys cater towards undocumented or DACA recipients as well. Can you discuss some initiatives that you guys have in place for that population and some of the resources that documented students can utilize when it comes to Let's Go to College?
Let's Go to College California has some priority populations. They're populations who are first gen low income, but they also sit at the intersection of other identities, such as being undocumented, foster youth, young men of color. Those are all populations that are underrepresented in higher ed. For undocumented students, it's very important for us to provide additional support, because California is home to the largest population of undocumented students in the country. But they're our neighbors, they're our friends, they're our peers. I think it's really important to make sure that they're feeling like they can go to college and they can succeed as well. So I'll talk about two specific initiatives that we have here and Let's Go to support that population. We like to make opportunities available to all students regardless of immigration status. So one way we can do that is that instead of offering some of our positions, such as our ambassador program, as employment, we offer them as a fellowship, so that undocumented students can apply for them and they can receive a stipend or a scholarship for their participation. I think we see that sometimes a lot of nonprofit or organizations make the mistake of like only creating opportunities as employment, and then that excludes undocumented students. So we like to be mindful of, hey, yeah, we do have some students, interns that are employed. We do have some student ambassadors as well, but then we got to make sure that we create opportunities where undocumented students can do the work that everybody else does that is very key, and receive a stipend or a scholarship for their participation in our fellowships, which is going to help their professional development and just help them get a little bit more experience as well. The other thing too is undocumented students go through like a whole separate process on applying for financial aid in California, right? Undocumented students not submit the FAFSA, they submit the California DREAM Act application. So we have a section in under our Pay for College site that provides tailored information to undocumented students. So applying for the California DREAM Act, going through that process as well. It looks very different, and I think, making sure that information is available to them is important to us. So we have a whole section on that.
Bianca, anything to add?
I was just going to add that, as I was mentioning before about all of our scholarships, we do try to keep that into consideration, knowing that it's eligible to all students, no matter their status. Just like limiting those barriers for students. I think that's always something that we're pretty conscious of when sharing different opportunities.
And finally, for our last question, we noticed that pretty much everyone on your team is a first generation graduate. So why is that work that you do so important for first generation college students like yourselves?
Yeah, I think just as I was mentioning earlier, I think we just want to uplift student voices and experiences in a positive light. And yeah, ultimately, we know what the challenges were. We know what students are in need of, and really being that ear to the ground and just like, yeah, being able to support students nowadays. So either through giveaways, finding ways that we could really support a student that is in need, or just like sharing our own experiences so that we can help the future generation. I think that's always inspiring, just to see like, oh, there's someone on the team that looks like me. So maybe in the future I can be in that position, because often we don't see ourselves in those leadership positions. I feel like it's hard to really be like, oh, I can make it there because I know someone that's already in that position. So we definitely want to be that light to other students to come.
A lot of times people that go through the struggle being a first-gen students want to pay it forward, and they want to get back to their community, and they're passionate about it. So that's why they, gravitate towards us, and they're like, yeah, I want to support students like me because this is what I learned. This is what I want to share with people. I want people to like hear my story, learn from my experience, and make it easier. So it's a lot of times people they're encouraged to participate in programs like that, especially if they were a product of a college program. They want to come back and they want to give back. I think the other piece I want to touch the base a little bit is just like we talked a little bit about this. A lot of time when people think about first-gen students, they have a deficit mindset of like, hey, a first-gen student doesn't have this, they don't have this experience, etc. For us, it's just like we're trying to find beauty in being a first-gen student, because there's a lot of things that we do have, right? We're very resilient, we're very resourceful, we make something out of very little. We have a lot of like cultural wealth, we have a lot of like family and social capital that we can use in our favor. So sharing those messages with students so that it changed their mindset of like, we don't want students to go to college as a first-gen student and think that they can't be successful because they're completely at a disadvantage. And the last piece too is about making the education system more modernize it and make it more relevant to today's students, right? Today's students are not the same as they were when these institutions were created. So we want to make sure that the institutions adapt and are more responsive to the needs of today's students. We know students today are first gen, low income backgrounds. A lot of them are like older, right? Like the 18 to 24, 22 age is not really like, a lot of students are older than that. A lot of students come with dependents themselves, so they're students who are parents. The whole demographic of who is a student has changed. And that's why I think people want to like share their experiences about that, because they want to change the narrative.
I just want to say that I don't know you two personally, but I'm so proud of you. I'm just so proud because, like, just listening to you, Marcos, it was just really inspirational because I know there's traditional students, but there's no such thing as a traditional student. Like, I feel like in just the years, like, the student name has just changed. Like, you have parents, first gen, DACA. It has changed. So I agree. It needs to be more modernized. And just hearing you guys' responses was really inspiring, just hearing you guys talk on that initiative. I really did like that.
Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. We appreciate it.
Just taking the time to meet with us.
Thank you. Yeah, this was our first time, so we're super excited to be here too.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you for having us. And yeah, I mean, encourage your audience, people. Help us spread the word about Let's Go to College California. We have that website. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok. Probably recommend those pages, they are most popular. And yeah, plug in to be part of our online community. Again, we're building this platform for people like us, students like us. So thank you all so much.